$150,000 Bitcoin loading. How? How is that going to happen? Altcoins, Bitcoin dominance, continuing to fall this week. Very weird. I did this video. This was May 16th. This was months ago. Altcoins officially less risky than Bitcoin. Since doing this video, Bitcoin dominance has fallen now around 7.5%. And I think it's been months since I did the video. I think it's just the beginning of the move. So with that being said, what is the power move for altcoins? Why are altcoins so bullish right now? As I do these videos, it is increasingly difficult for me to contain my bullishness. I tone it down. I know my thumbnails and titles, they don't reflect that too much, but I do tone it down. And actually, even as I'm recording this video, if you watch my analysis on the very short term, in the weeks ahead, I'm not immediately convinced that we're actually not going to go lower. Like here's an Ethereum chart. We're going to take a glance at that, but that doesn't change the macro outlook for this cycle for as we get ready to go into Q4. I am so bullish right now, and I want to just kind of talk about all of these things, and I want to look at ADA BTC as we start discussing altcoins. Check out this ADA BTC chart. I want to break it down. So please hit the subscribe and like on the way in. And if you're not in our intelligence system, go get into the trial right now. I did this video back in May talking about altcoins officially less risky than Bitcoin. It was basically completely based off of the data in our system. This is institutional grade data available to you and I right now. This took insane amount of work to build this, but these risk models are designed for you and I to know when to sell, when to take profit based on risk levels and risk scores. So get back there. It's a free trial we still have going on. And right now is the time. It's been months and months and months. We're just still at neutral areas on these risk scores. So I'm going to continue kind of using these in the analysis. Let's start the video and let's look at Bitcoin dominance. So this is what it looks like on the weekly. We've fallen since that May video around 7.5%. I think it is the beginning of the move, but I do want to throw this out there from an analysis perspective. It is a good idea, especially if we're going to look at the Ethereum chart before we look at Cardano BTC. But if we get a throwback for crypto, and it would be phenomenal if it doesn't happen. I'm just very cautious with these things. We broke out of the triangle. It's a multi-year triangle for something like Ethereum, and even the state of crypto right now. We could get interest rates. We could get a 0.5 instead of a 0.25 interest rate cut. And we might actually dip after that. That's what happened last September. But that doesn't change the trajectory for this cycle. But I'm bringing that up because if we look at a Bitcoin dominance chart, it is in play always. We started falling through the 50. We've fallen through the 20 in green, the 50 in blue. We've fallen out of this Fibonacci range. We hit the upper end at the 786 so nicely. It's insane. And we've started falling, but some type of pullback to the lower end of the Fibonacci at the 618. Maybe the 50-week moving average, maybe a confluence of the two. In the coming weeks, we get a little bounce on Bitcoin dominance. For me, it's something to watch out for, to be careful for. When it happens, I might be doing a video saying, you know what? This is a normal move, because it is, if it does happen. I would really enjoy if the Bitcoin dominance continues to fall. Sometimes this is what we most, if you're a bull looking at a Bitcoin dominance chart, it's what you most want to see. It's what happened last cycle. You can see it took a break right here, kind of sideways, and then boom. So takes a break, boom. That's what we want to see. So we'll continue monitoring Bitcoin dominance. But when it comes to altcoins in general, all of the macro business cycle, just bullishness that is happening right now. Quantitative tightening coming down to a slowing down. I don't want to say we're just running right into QE, right? But while this is happening, I started the video with this 150,000 Bitcoin loading. This is a global M2 money supply. In yellow, you have the global M2 money supply. It's been an insane leading indicator for Bitcoin. And it genuinely does look like if this holds true, this consistency, the next move for Bitcoin is a move towards $150,000. It would likely come with a lot of volatility, maybe a dip first, I don't know. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because if Bitcoin moves to $150,000, it does not mean Bitcoin dominance all of a sudden going to explode to the upside. Because if that move starts happening for Bitcoin, I think the continuation of the Ethereum move and the altcoin charts is going to be explosive. And therefore, we could see crypto just making higher highs, higher lows, but altcoins outperforming Bitcoin. And we might find ourselves in an environment where Bitcoin dominance continues its fall. So let's discuss altcoins. And then after we do that on a more broad level, I want to look at ADA BTC because it is an incredible chart for ADA. And I'm sure there are other altcoins that look very similar. So Ethereum, I've mentioned, I've done analysis on it. The throwback to the triangle itself is an incredibly normal move. We could meet the upper trend line at a confluent area eventually at the 20-week. Maybe that's like a $3,600 Ethereum in the coming weeks. Maybe we fall deeper into the apex. I don't know. It's not something I'm calling. I'm not like predicting this. If you watch my analysis, you know I'm always visualizing these things. Back here, I was visualizing, man, we're falling, but what if this turns into a busted triangle? And here we are. We put in a busted triangle. And now we're just talking about the throwback, which would be a normal move. If this doesn't happen, what I want to do is I just want to show you something. And I might have done this in a recent video, but this is why when you have access to this data and you start digging into it, Ethereum and other altcoins, it's hard because it's not an emotion. It's just the data is saying things are bullish on top of everything else. Ethereum now, Ethereum at the top, it's like the same price, right? November 2021. And if you go and look at Ethereum's risk model, Ethereum was topping out in the 90s on the risk model. And before that, the swing high was literally 100 on this Ethereum risk model. And if you look at this right now, we're at a 48. Ethereum's at a 48. Ethereum is literally there it is at 48, November 2020. So a year before it topped, it was at a 48. I'm not saying Ethereum's going to go on a year-long bull run and top in a year, I'm just saying we're at pre-bull market territory. And you take our risk models, which again are proprietary data consisting of all, our advanced algorithm, emerging asset theory, which is very important for newer assets that don't have a ton of data, game theory, price volatility, volume. There are so many data points being just displayed here into a very nice risk score and risk model. But you take that and you pair it with the analysis of a chart like this. And then you go and you look at the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. So this is everything excluding Bitcoin. And you're like, this chart is insane looking. It's looking very similar to Ethereum chart. Obviously, Ethereum is a huge market cap. But even if we get rid of Ethereum, so now we have altcoins excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look at the momentum oscillator on this altcoin chart. I mean, we are at just this starting point level, similar to where we were last cycle when we're about to go into this powerful bull run. And not only that, it's the compression of this chart that I continually look at. So similar to Ethereum, when we're looking at the altcoin chart, and ADA BTC will give a flip side view of this. We're about to look at this. But look at the starting point this cycle. It's the beginning of the game, right? It's been a long journey. Even still, it's been higher highs and higher lows. All you've needed is some patience and just being able to withstand the volatility that has been throughout the years. But we've been in an uptrend. It's been great for slow accumulation if you are, a long-term macro investor. But this is the starting point. Last cycle at this market cap was the ending. We were about to go into QT and just massive terribleness. And I'm talking SEC attacking crypto. I'm talking all of the companies capitulating and going out of business and the fraud that was going on. Terrible for the industry at this moment. Now where QT is slowing down, it's not starting, and we're at the starting line. It is hard for me to contain my bullishness. I've been bullish since bear market lows, and people are like, you're just a perma bull. Well, I have been. I've been waiting for this moment, and I've been preparing for this moment. I genuinely think crypto is very bullish right now, not to mention Clarity Act. And I could be wrong about it all. I say that all the time, but at least I'm giving reasons why I'm bullish. I'm not like just sitting here and everything is screaming that we're about to capitulate into a crazy bear market. I think the data I'm presenting is pretty convincing, at least for somebody that is going to be a bull. So with that being said, I am waiting for this breakout through the upside. If it happens, and maybe we come down first, I don't know. Anything is possible. This cycle is so different. But if it does happen, what is Bitcoin dominance doing? I'm very interested in tracking the Bitcoin dominance chart with those types of breakouts. And then from there, we can go zoom in a little bit more and look at individual altcoins. And I'm serious. Like, what's ADA doing? What's Ethereum doing? What's Solana and Sui? What's Crypto.com doing? I really want to look at these things, because when we get in this environment where Bitcoin dominance starts falling, and then we see, one or two cryptos having a crazy few days, everything else just steady. Like, ADA's not doing anything, but Ethereum or Sui is just like 30% to the upside. That is a huge hint of an altcoin, a massive altcoin bull run. Cryptos take turns, and if Bitcoin dominance is falling in that environment, we want to pay attention. So we can pay attention to individual cryptos. Obviously, one that I'm very bullish on is Cardano, and this is what the Cardano this is the ADA BTC chart looks like. Now, keep in mind, ADA's risk score is at a 38. It's still at a moderate buy area, okay? So you go to last cycle and you want to, find out where there's 38. End of October 2020, it was at a 38. So even for a chart like ADA, we're at the beginning. And if you go to ADA BTC, that is obviously illustrated here. So we just looked at that risk score. What was it? October. It was around October. We were at a very similar risk score. Well, look, ADA BTC is at a very similar level there. What I like about the ADA BTC chart is a couple things. Number one, the movement of this RSI, the slower moving momentum oscillator, the higher highs, the higher lows, the flow of it. We're above that moving average line. There is downside in play for the RSI to even consolidate a little bit. But it's kind of the reversal that has just taken place in kind of the end of June. But more so, it's also the MACD. So you pair that with the MACD, and yes, we've had the histogram turn green, but I'm very interested in the fact that the MACD line in blue is like just now getting to that zero. The signal line down here, and the MACD just crossed the signal line, in July. It could be at the very beginning of a powerful bull move on this ADA BTC chart. And so this MACD has a ton of upside of momentum. You go to last cycle, and we can reference that like October area, even if we want. What was it? What did we say it was? October 2020. So all down here, we had a very similar risk score. And then we go into November, December, January. But look at it. It was all the beginning of the move. And you have this MACD line in green cruising to the upside. But notice the MACD line. Look at when it was starting to get above zero on the histogram, and just look at that bull market for ADA. Look at where we are right now. So keep that in mind as we have clarity, as we have interest rates about to come down, as we have quantitative tightening slowing down, as we have ADA ETF decision in October amongst all these other ETFs. I think Doge ETF is going to start on Thursday, I think. So we're like entering altcoin season. Or I should say altcoin ETF season. I don't even want to say we're entering altcoin season right now. I'm not going to say that right now. But we're entering altcoin ETF season, and it plays so nicely into these charts. So, everybody, it's hard for many people to envision ADA altcoins making a power move. It's always hard for people to envision that until it happens. But the thing about it is, it tends to happen quickly. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, that was right there. That was pretty, the indicators were lining up. The data was saying, okay, that makes sense. So let's see what ADA BTC does. It's obviously, there's not been a crazy breakout yet. We still even have to have the 20 week get above the 50 week. That's not even happened yet, but that would be the very beginning of the move. Look at this 20 week just separating from the 50 week. That was the beginning of the move last cycle in January. If you go to our risk model in January, check it out. Boom, January, we're entering the 50s into the 60s. That's what I'm watching on this risk model. I think when we get to those areas, at least for me, it's going to be a good idea to really start monitoring when to start taking profits and really have these alerts set up in the system. So whether it's ADA, whether it's like, I think we have crypto.com, we have a ton of risk models back here. Some of the most in the industry. People might not think so. It's like 38 or something, but it's a lot. These are legit, serious data points, everybody. These aren't like whipped together, as like we just making up the risk scores and making up the charts. A lot goes into this stuff. So from an industry perspective, the amount of risk models that we have here, it's pretty epic. So that's what our members are doing. And I very much enjoy talking about this in my videos. I know people are kind of like, man, you're just shilling your own thing, but I am. I know. I'm selling this thing. I've waited so long to have a tool like this for myself, and I've waited so long to build something in the crypto space without just selling something that is absolutely useless just to do it. And I'm really just excited about growing this company, and I'm excited about our members. We enter this bull run. I'm excited for alerts to start going off, and hopefully this entire system will be valuable to everybody. And it's a huge part of my analysis too. If you notice, even if you're not a member, the analysis, I think you can get so much value from just the things that we're looking at in this video alone. So anyway, that's the system. We have a free trial going on, so make sure you get back there, try us out, and set up some strategies, talk to Zero RAI. But otherwise, this is what I'm watching in the markets. It's just crazy. We are so close to a breakout, and I'm not, in the very short term, the weeks ahead, I'm just not immediately convinced that we're getting it right now. And partly that is due to how the market makers are sweeping out those longs when we get too many longs, and they go liquidate those longs, and we're like coming back down. It's just, there's a lot of compression in this market right now. But I think as we line up for Q4, things are looking very good. So these are my thoughts today. I hope you're doing well. Hit the subscribe and like. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider turning notifications on. Get notified when we do these videos. So I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.